Have you ever wondered why you carry so much tension in your hips? Why walking through life feels frustrating? Why you constantly also feel stuck, both physically and emotionally? Now, what if I told you that your hips are holding on to memories? Memories of control, fear, and unspoken pain. Your body is talking. Are you listening? So today episode, we're going to decode the hidden emotional trauma that is stored in your hips. And a warm welcome here to this episode. I am thrilled to have you here with me today. My name is Evette Rose. And guys, remember to subscribe, stay up to date, and join me also every Wednesday for my free masterclasses as well. You can register at matmasterclass.com. So let's dive deeper into our episode for today because your hips aren't just bones and muscles. They are deeply connected to your nervous system, emotional regulation, and also sense of safety. Now here's also the science because the hip and the limbic system, which is our emotional processing center, is quite connected. You see, your hip region is directly influenced by the limbic system. That is the part of the brain that's responsible for fear, memory, and emotional response as well. And the hips and the psoas muscle, which is also connected to our fight and flight reflex. You see, so this muscle, which runs through the hip area, it is directly connected to the autonomic nervous system. And when you experience trauma, your body contracts, holding tension in the hips as a way almost like to freeze in a self-protective manner. We also have the hips and the vagus nerve, which is emotional release also. So the vagus nerve helps to regulate stress and also emotional balance. So if your nervous system is stuck in a hypervigilance, meaning it's like constantly on guard, your hips also remain tight and very inflexible. Now, have you, for example, had unresolved emotional trauma and your nervous system might be keeping your hips locked in a self-defense mode, even years after the event? Something to think about. And I'm planting that seed because we will get back to that in a minute. A powerful component that I've come to learn after working with thousands of people, I have come to see that emotional invasion tend to be very deeply linked to the hips and the stress that is stored there as well, because it's a lot more about posture. It's about boundaries as well. Have you ever asked yourself, or maybe I can ask you now, did you maybe grow up in an environment where your emotions weren't valued? Where you expected to care for others at the expense of yourself? Do you struggle to say no without guilt? You see, many people with chronic hip tension have a history of emotional invasion, where their personal space, the emotional needs, and their body's autonomy just were not respected. And if you had, for example, controlling parents, demanding relationships, or maybe an unstable upbringing, your body's going to still be holding on to these experiences as well. Let's quickly have now a reflection moment. I want to ask you, were you maybe raised in a home where love felt conditional? Were your emotions maybe dismissed or maybe overruled by other people's needs? If yes, your hips could actually be carrying a lot of resentment. And this is telling you that there's such a deep craving for love, but fearing it at the same time. Did you know that hip pain and male figures are actually quite connected? It's normally called the masculine or father wound. Did you know that these hip issues can also be linked to these difficult relationships? I mean, when you just think about it, right? Relationship, for example, with a father who was maybe emotionally unavailable, a brother who was maybe very dominant or dismissive, a male partner who maybe have made you feel very unheard and unseen. Because if the primary male figure in your life was unstable, your nervous system absorbed that. It absorbed that emotional instability. And your hips are reflecting this tension now, impacting the way that you move, stand, and also trust others. So have you ever asked yourself, do I, for example, feel that I have had to fight for space in my relationships? Am I always, for example, defending myself instead of feeling at peace. The nervous system doesn't forget. Your hips might still actually just be bracing for that battle. It's bracing itself for like that battle, which it doesn't need to fight anymore. But your hips and the memory of it doesn't realize it. Did you know that there could also be medical and ancestral trauma held in the hips? Have you actually ever experienced, for example, medical trauma involving your lower body? Gynecological visits, surgeries, maybe invasive medical treatments? You see, these procedures can re-trigger stored trauma, especially if they made you feel exposed, vulnerable, and out of control as well. And the ancestral side of this trauma as well could be showing you that your body is holding on to a big history. Your hips might also be carrying the weight of your ancestor struggles. I mean, think about it. Think about your family's history, because we know that we are expressions of our ancestors, right? Have you ever asked the question, was there a history of control, oppression, or forced sacrifices? Did women maybe in your lineage stay in relationships out of obligation and fear rather than love? Did your mother maybe feel unsupported, sacrificing maybe her dreams for survival? You see, epigenetic research shows us that trauma can be passed down through generations, meaning that your hips might be holding on to the emotional pain that didn't even start with you. Now, how do we look at healing our hips, our emotions, and our nervous system as well? Well, firstly, it would help by just starting to acknowledge these emotional patterns. You can journal about it. Notice what emotions, for example, come up when you stretch your hips. Do you feel vulnerable? Do you feel angry? Do you feel resistant? There's so many powerful ways that you can start to really truly shift this. And one of them is by starting to reclaim your boundaries and your power. Because hip trauma it's about boundaries and control. It's also about walking in anger. And the reason why you feel you have to walk in anger is because you feel you don't have power, you don't have boundaries, you don't have control. So you fight for it and you push for it. So have you asked yourself, where in my life do I feel obligated to stay small? Where do I maybe need to say more often? Another one could also be, how can I reclaim my sense of power without feeling guilt? You see, your hips are not broken. They're really just holding on to your story, and it's time to listen to set yourself free. So drop a comment here. Have you ever felt emotions trapped in your hips? What were they? Let's talk about it. Remember to subscribe as well. Stay up to date. I love you guys. Thank you for being here with me today. And until next time, be the light that you are. And remember, if you want to learn more about stored emotions in the body and how they can even be hiding behind ailments, tension, pain, negative thoughts, beliefs, any challenges that you're having in your body, there's going to be stored messages. So remember to go grab your copy of Metaphysical Anatomy. It's a big book of 722 medical ailments and then the emotions that are suppressed behind them as well. You'll be also finding powerful questions in this book that can really truly help you to get started on your healing journey. And you can find your copy at evettebooks.com.